Welcome to Accelerate OC, the only show focused on the people leading innovation in Orange County. Join our host, Kerry Ransom, in his conversations with the trendsetters, entrepreneurs, investors, and leaders here, because it's time to Accelerate OC.
Welcome to the Accelerate Show. I'm Kerry Ransom, and today's episode is sponsored by OC4 Venture Studio, which is a new tech startup company building platform and community here in Orange County. If you're looking for help with your startup or opportunities to work with the next generation of startups and high growth companies, or you want to be part of that community here, you can go to oc4v.com to learn more. I am super excited to have Jeff Gardner with me today on Accelerate. Before we get to hear from Jeff, though, let me tell you a little bit about him. So he is the new president and CEO of CalAmp, which is a local company that's been here for many, many years and has always been looked at as a pioneer in the IoT or Internet of Things and connecting what I would call the mobile economy, things that are often moving around and need to be identified and tracked. He's been on their board for a little over 5 years. And so he knows the company really, really well. And he recently joined earlier this year, really right at the beginning of COVID, as the CEO. And so we'll talk a little bit about that today. And a little more on CalAmp. Through their hardware and software, they have enabled millions of devices to be tracked and traced and managed, so companies can manage their assets much more effectively, such as vehicles in a fleet of vehicles that they may have. One of the brands that many of you will probably recognize is a brand called LoJack that you'll recognize largely because it's also a consumer brand, which has helped many people recover stolen cars and vehicles over the years. They have over 1 million customers. They have put their devices into well over 20 million products. And so we'll talk about the history of the company, what they're really undertaking today as they go through their next generation transformation. Prior to CalAmp, Jeff has a tremendous amount of experience as a senior leader in companies. He was the president and CEO of a company you might also recognize called Brinks Home Security, one of the leading home security companies in the country. He was the president and CEO of a really large international communications company called Windstream for about 10 years. And he also, prior to that, was the CFO of Alltel, which is what Windstream came out of. He's been very involved in the technology industry for a long time. He's done a tremendous amount of M&A on both the buy and sell side. And so he just has a rich history and career. We were talking a little bit off the air. We both have some Hoosier connection. Me being an IU guy, he went to Purdue, so I won't hold that too much against him, but many of you will recognize that rivalry, similar to the UCLA-USC rivalry that we have around here. Jeff, it's great to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Kerry. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, let's get to the starting line. So I kind of gave a brief introduction. What an amazing career that you've had from Alltel to Windstream to Brinks and now CalAmp. What has you most excited about this new adventure at this point?
Well, I mean, at CalAmp, it was great to get into a business like this where I've been on the board for 5 years. So I know the board very well. I knew a number of the management team very well. Mm-hmm. I love the technology. And I love the space that we're in. The space that we're in, we're already doing incredible things, providing insights to our customers around their mobile assets in every category. It used to be just trucks and cars, but now it's everything from that to parcels to heavy equipment around the world. And we're just at the very cutting edge. Today, we're providing insights to our customers, but if you look at it overall, their customers are getting about 6% of the total data that they can use to run their business. So not only is it an enormous market that we're in, estimated to be about $62 billion in 2025, the telematics space, but I think we're uniquely positioned. As you said, we've got a long history in this space, initially led by our devices that are considered best in class, that really allow our customers to not only provide the devices that they layer their software on top of, but also provide insights in terms of how these devices are being used around the world. We're connecting them all through the cloud for our customers, so they have great visibility. And then over the next several years, that's going to change even more to more of a mesh network. So the computing is going to move from the cloud. You hear this theme a lot in Orange County and in California technology in general, where a lot of the computing is being driven to the edge. So companies can get even faster insights, more insights around how they can better run their businesses. So it's a really exciting time for us. It's been a bit of a challenge to start with COVID because it did impact our business. We need to, although we're mainly a software focus today, 35% of our revenue is SaaS revenue today. In all cases, even when we're a pure software player with our customers, it involves a device that we have to install in a vehicle, on a package, on a parcel. So it's been very interesting. We had to manage through that. We've done a number of things around our products to be innovative with COVID, but I'm really proud of how the team is really, in this work from home environment, really just stepped up. And we had a very good, strong first quarter where we beat consensus on both revenue and EBITDA. And yeah, that's expected, right, when you're running a company, but to do it in these times, I just have to give a lot of credit to the team and how hard, because it took us a while to catch our stride with this work from home. We just weren't used to it. And now I think we're getting really effective, and we've got a lot of work to do. Our goal is to really take this COVID time, which is challenging for all of us, to kind of emerge as a better, bigger company with a better strategic focus.
So as you think about the history of the company, I mean, you talked about, the company's focus continues to be more and more on software. Historically, probably heavy hardware device centric, sort of in transition, but really the combination of the two is where a lot of the value you deliver. I mean, any real breakthroughs that you've seen through this, where maybe we can't touch as many physical objects and devices as we historically have. So think through, how do we transition from hardware to software to deliver some of the same, any good stories that have sort of emerged in the last few months?
I do think it's accelerated a lot as we've talked to our customers during this time. We've really been trying to work with them very closely as they're all trying to navigate through the COVID situation. It has brought on some innovation where we're trying to do more self-service with the customers more and more, so they can do some of their own installs. We still have a lot of work to do there, but I think that's where we're headed, and we've seen some innovation there. In some of our businesses, the other COVID type developments have been, we've got this big K through 12 school bus business where we provide all the smart vehicle capabilities to school buses that allows parents to understand when a school bus is coming into the neighborhood, when their kids are going to be arriving home, when they're going to be picked up. They can see it on an app on their phone. Well, when the schools shut down at the beginning of COVID, we've kind of flipped it, and we worked with our customers to turn that into a deliver meals to the home, both breakfast and lunch. With in a lot of communities around the country, underprivileged kids need the school lunches to really help them be healthy. And so that was one great innovation. And also we rolled out a product called Bus Guardian that allowed really some contact tracing capability for kids on their bus in the event that something did happen. It allows them to track the sanitation schedule for the buses. So when the children do come back to school, they're going to feel more comfortable in the COVID environment.
Yeah, that's a great example of how you've sort of taken that core platform and then built other use case or other opportunities on top of it.
I was real proud of our team because, I mean, listen, if you're in the school bus business with all this disruption, you could just be sitting around like, oh, woe is me. But instead, they kind of turned that on its head and were innovative and tried to help our customers solve problems. We just had a bunch of the fleet managers for the school districts around the country in a virtual customer advisory group. And we were able to kind of problem solve and talk about what things are going to look like in the fall.
Yeah, very, very interesting. I mean, and it's such a challenging environment, I'm sure, for you as a CEO of a company that you've just recently taken over, and let alone a public company, to
Yeah.
try to plan and forecast in the way that typically your market participants expect.
Yes, absolutely. It's been interesting. Like many companies, we didn't provide guidance for the first
Hmm.
half of the year because, like everyone, visibility was pretty limited. But as I said, I was very pleased with how the team stepped up and overachieved in the first quarter, and we're just really fighting every day to do the best we can in a really challenging environment, and working with our customers. I think the best thing it's done, you would think that your sales reps couldn't travel as much and it'd be a
Hmm.
real problem. I find that we're working with our customers in a very different way. And our new sales leader that was hired right when I started as well, he and I are spending a ton of time with strategic discussions with other CEOs and heads of chief operating officers of our customers to see how we can work together to get through this difficult time.
Hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, a great time to really invest in some of those longer term relationships to just get that much more embedded together. So that's a great story. So you're relatively new here to Orange County and to Southern California. There are a number of telematics companies that have been around here for a while, and some great successes that have exited or grown. Any reason why, as you've sort of studied it, why that is the case here?
Well, I mean, I don't really know. I was struck by you. I was amazed at that, how big a region it is for telematics in general. There's a couple of very big companies here, us included.
Hmm.
I think it's all about the access to talent. I mean, a lot of our
Hmm.
business is about attracting software engineers. It's a great area to do that. We've been able to get
Hmm.
very, very good talent both here in Orange County, and we also have an office here in California in Carlsbad.
Hmm.
It's a great place to live. There's great colleges here, and California, I think, is synonymous with technology leadership. So that's been
Hmm.
really
Yeah, it's just always, it's funny when you find those clusters like that, and so uh, I'm
not a
always
bad place
curious.
to live either. I'm
It is not.
really liking the weather a lot.
Yeah, well, we're happy to have you here, and yeah, this has been a good time. I mean, as somebody who's been here for a while, life, even under this kind of cloud of COVID and quarantine, has been probably a little bit easier here, certainly, than places in the Midwest when it was still winter, and
Yes.
you felt a little stuck inside. So let's go under the hood a little bit. I mentioned, CalAmp's a public company. We actually don't have that many public companies here in Orange County, and you've been CEO of other public companies, or senior executive, as well as private. In this day and age, sort of, how do you think about the advantages, if there are any, and challenges of being a public company?
Well, I mean, there's pros and cons, of course,
Hmm.
but I mean, the advantages, of course, are access to capital markets.
Hmm.
That's been important to CalAmp as we've grown through acquisition over the years. It is challenging when you're undergoing a transformation.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's easier to do those in private.
Hmm.
But we've taken another tact here. In my first couple of meetings with investors, and we actually have our annual shareholders meeting tomorrow.
Oh, good luck. Yeah.
Interesting. I'll be talking
Hmm.
to all of our investors again tomorrow, but I'm just trying to be very transparent, very clear about what we're doing to transform this company, and set metrics out there so that they can follow our progress from a device carrier to software as a service. And
Hmm.
I mean, we've had incredible discussions with investors over the last couple of months. Anytime in front of a shareholder meeting, there's a lot of outreach that goes on. So it's been very good. And I think investors have been, listen, it's been a crazy time for them as well. If you're a public company investor today,
Hmm.
a lot of volatility. They're having a lot of sleepless nights as well. So they've really appreciated the extra time we're all taking to understand their business and help them understand our business, and to provide them as much insight as we can. And
Hmm.
so Yeah, I think that's a little bit challenging, especially when we're going through this transformation, but it also puts, the appropriate amount of pressure on us, right? When you have
Right.
quarterly goals to hit, it puts a lot of discipline in the
Mhm.
organization. And so
Mhm.
it helps me in that way. What I've tried to do is get the team totally aligned on a set of goals. I had a 90-day plan when I came in, and got the whole team focused on that 90-day plan. Um, and so it's really allowed us to get synchronized in a way that we haven't been before, and is driving a lot of innovation around the company. And what I've noticed most in the last 30 days is our cadence has really accelerated.
Hmm. That's
With the
great.
work from home environment, and with the new management that we brought in 3 or 4 new leaders during this time. So it's been a very, very good thing for us.
That's great. Well, and I think, probably that level of transparency helps to find the right group of investors, where
Right.
you sort of share, hey, here's we recognize we have to keep delivering, but that there is a bigger end goal here that is probably going to take a little while. And and that's always been, for me, as the sort of cynic has said,
Mhm.
that's tough if you're
Yeah.
trying to sort of deliver in the short term but execute on a long-term vision under that microscope.
Yeah.
So I applaud you for taking
Mhm.
it on.
Yeah,
So,
our stock was hit pretty hard when the crisis started.
mhm. You weren't
It's
alone.
Yeah, no, everybody. We've doubled from there. We're still pretty low in our mind,
Mhm.
but a lot more to do. But we're on the right track.
Mhm. That's great. Well, big reason, as I was saying, before we started, big reason I started the show was just to highlight, amazing, innovative companies and leaders and entrepreneurs and others here in the area. And, I feel like you are in this, as you said, this, whether you call it IoT intelligence or this combination of in much more intelligent, interconnected devices. You're right in the heart of that.
Yeah.
And I feel like we are in early days, but there's so much opportunity on the horizon. How do you think about, CalAmp as almost a platform for others to innovate around? Is there an ecosystem or community opportunity for other innovators to work with you?
Yeah, I think our business is really interesting in terms of, we have customers that are very big, like Caterpillar, a big
Hmm.
industrial powerhouse around the world. And we also have these innovative companies, we call them telematic service providers, who are smaller companies who innovate. They build software and they use our devices and our
Hmm.
cloud platform as the foundation for their products. And we help them innovate. So it's kind of like an incubator kind of group where we can
Hmm.
work with them. We can go in as partners and really, to big and small customers alike, and really drive some of these new changes. What you said is exactly right. If you think about just the information that uh, we provide customers today, originally it was around, where are the mobile assets at? What are the
Hmm.
temperatures? But there's so
Hmm.
much more. Working with one of the biggest parcel companies in the world to help them develop smart trailers,
Mm.
with camera technology, with our flagship product called Ion Suite. We have Ion Vision and Ion Tags that allows you not only to monitor the tractor and how full it is, and where it's at, how it's performing, how the driver's performing. Um, it's going to provide all kinds of insight in terms of what is on the trailer.
Mhm.
And if you think about pharmaceuticals, for instance, and you put a tag on a pharmaceutical that needs to be temperature controlled, it provides a lot more information and insight to customers.
Mhm.
And there's just endless use cases for
Sure.
that. We're really trying to focus on the transportation and logistics area, where I think we have a special expertise,
Mhm.
both with municipal customers and commercial customers alike. And so I think that we're one of the few companies. Our industry is pretty fragmented, Carrie, in that there's a lot of smaller players.
Mhm.
We're one of the few big players, even though in my mind we're not the biggest company in the world. We
Sure.
are big in our space, and we're international. We have a lot of big customers like Caterpillar and Verizon and AT&T. So
Mm-hmm.
we've got the mix of those innovative companies that are incubating with us, as well as some big customers that allow us to weather these difficult times during COVID better. The big
Mm-hmm.
customers obviously having less volatility than some of our smaller partners.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems, I mean, it seems like an interesting challenge to even, for you to even have to define in some respects, what business are we in? Are we a full solution provider to a big customer like a Caterpillar? Are we a platform that people can build upon,
Yeah.
like our customers, or co-create with? Or are we even a platform for the innovation marketplace to build upon? And so really, really interesting opportunities for you to build upon with what you have there.
Yeah, I think that was a big challenge for the company over the years. We have so much capability, and engineers will build whatever you ask them to build. They love to do.
Right. They like to build
the project. But my experience is successful companies go really deep in defined verticals where they can be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So we've tried to fine tune our focus in terms of where we'll go end to end in the transportation and logistics market. And in the other markets, we're going to partner with some of these telematic service providers that I spoke about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
We've got great partners there as well. So it is exciting, as you mentioned, managing that ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's clearer and clearer to our customers and to our employees where we're going to be focused. It allows us to innovate. We've made some changes already to exit a couple of non-strategic businesses and focus on where we think we can be more successful over time.
Mm-hmm. That makes complete sense. So as you think about entrepreneurs that like this, intelligent device, or even in your particular, focus area of transportation and logistics, in any emerging technologies that you particularly, I mean, you mentioned the push to put more capability at the edge for faster decision making, any key technologies that you think, people like me that are very entrepreneurial should be paying attention to and say, these are going to be some of the core foundational things that will redefine the industry in the coming years.
Yeah, we're really excited about this Ion Suite, which is our flagship transportation and logistics platform, and some of the capabilities that it has today. We just won an IoT Evolution Award for the Ion Suite with its innovative capabilities. And two things in particular: the Ion Tag, which is the device that we can install. It's a very small device that has tons of use cases, but if you think about transportation and logistics, it allows us to track products from the time they get put on the trailer to they get offloaded to they go to their end point in terms of the customer, and provide a lot more information, like everything from crash detection to temperature control. It allows our customers to manage their supply chain a lot better. So that's one. The Ion we're really excited about, and I think we're quite a leader in that regard. And then Ion Vision, which is the capability, the camera capabilities, not only for the drivers, but other smart intelligence that will allow carriers to understand, how full their trailer is or how full their truck is, so that they can make decisions to optimize their revenue, to manage their fleets well. So those are both those products are edge technologies that operate at the edge. And that's going to be part of what we see as the future, where our industry is going to move from cloud computing, which was a big innovation, to be honest with you. Cloud computing has enabled great insights today. But as I said earlier, it's only a small percentage of the capability. And if we move to the edge, which will be even more rich information, we can be a real leader. And as I said, we're trying to get really focused on transportation and logistics, get as many of our developers focused on that space so that we can be way out in front of our customers, because it's important to listen to customers, but also as an industry leader, you need to be telling them where they need to go, telling them the capabilities that they have. So that's really what our engineering team is focused on. We've got a new product leader that we hired as well, that's helping drive that process for us.
Very good. Well, thank you for sharing some of that. That's I think that will be really interesting to our audience for sure. So I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. I mentioned your recent transplant here, Jeff. As someone who's coming in new, we continue to want to welcome more and more really exciting executives, entrepreneurs, and others here into the community. What do you feel like as a community we could do better to sort of roll out that red carpet and help connect folks like you into the community more quickly and effectively?
Sure. I think, well, this has been an interesting time.
Of
I think
course,
it would be
yes.
welcomed differently at another time, but I really think we could gain a lot when you think about all the cool companies here, the technology companies here, the CEOs of those companies could get together and brainstorm. Some are competitive, and I've been in industry groups with people that we compete against, and there's still very good information to share.
Sure.
So it helps the collective group. And I think getting our companies to kind of partner and discuss some of their own, what they're going through is really useful and can allow us all to be better and allow us to attract more companies. And we need to tell the story about, the capabilities that we have here in Orange County. Not only is it a great place to live, but you can attract incredibly talented people here. And this concentration of technology companies is very valuable. There's a lot of software engineers out here that we're recruiting every day, very talented sales professionals with, we just recruited Aram Diamond to our Chief Revenue Officer from Salesforce. What better opportunity could we have to get one of the leading software as a service company executives to help us join to drive software as a service? And same story with our product leader, who we just attracted. And I just hired a gentleman that I've never met. I hired him end to end during the COVID crisis. A gentleman named Nathan Laustutter, who's running our global supply chain. He's based in Pasadena. And it's just been great. And all that's been enabled, I think, by the area that we live in. I'm able to get this great talent.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a report that I can send you that a couple of professors at Chapman put out several years ago that was talking about kind of the state of Orange County, the jobs economy here. And one of the really interesting insights from that was they polled people across the country about the area where they lived and other areas from a perception standpoint of appeal. And what came out of it is Orange County actually is what I would characterize as the best kept secret in the country, and that the people who are here recognize how incredible it is, but we are not perceived, certainly outside the area, as a place that has a tremendous amount of talent, a tremendous number of companies and opportunities. And so I always speculate, like, is it those of us who are here that don't want anybody else to know, or have we just not done a good job of really, telling that story?
I think we can do a better job. So I've just been amazed at, I'm on the board of a big semiconductor company, Qorvo, that is based in Portland. And when I moved here, we've got a big competitor in that space called Skyworks. And
just relocated their headquarters here.
I just relocated from Boston. So I think that's a great story. That's an outstanding company, a leader in their space. So I think there's very good things happening. And we could probably tell the story better.
Yes, I think that's probably the key. So we're getting down toward the end. A couple things as you think about the future of innovation. Obviously, you're in the middle of or in the early stages of really transforming a company that's been around, I think, since the 70s or 80s in CalAmp. What is it that gives you hope and optimism about the future of innovation?
Well, I mean, and you're right. I've had a long career. What's amazing to me today, Kerry, is how quickly things change. And everybody wonders about what's going on with the stock market. How's it done so great? I think the machine learning and artificial intelligence, I was around like in 2000, I was in the wireless business in 2000. We went through the .com crisis, and, I saw all the growth in these companies just related to the internet and what a big impact that had on the economy. Now I see it with machine learning and artificial intelligence. Things are changing so much faster. the availability of information for so many uses is now there, and you just see amazing things happen in very short times. That's a good thing, and it's a bad thing, because you always have to be on your guard as a company. It's so much easier today for companies to come in, unicorns with disruption attitude, to come in and innovate out on top of it. So if you're a CEO of a company like CalAmp, you've really got to behave like an entrepreneur and a startup, and really bring that kind of innovation to your company, because I think sometimes older companies tend to sit back a little bit, but things are happening very fast. And I think that's very exciting. It's really why I took this job. I think that we had great technology here. We just needed to get a little more focused, increase our cadence to really drive some big things in the industry.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, great sort of segue to, for yourself. I mean, you've had, some great other roles in other companies, as I highlighted earlier. The excitement of sort of transforming and building upon some great technology is a really exciting assignment, I'm sure. How do you keep yourself relevant and sharp and innovative in your own personal development?
Yeah, well, I always try to, I'm a lifelong learner, so I read a ton. I try to stay involved in, I'm on a couple of other boards that I stay involved with the entrepreneurs and leaders. That's always helpful. I try to stay really connected with my personal network of leaders and mentors that I've had throughout my career. As I mentioned to you earlier, I participate in the Enterprise Roundtable, which is a group of software CEOs, just to really stay on top of things and listen to people. I think that, and really, I guess as I become a more experienced CEO, I'm trying to draw less on experience and be more open-minded, right? Because you can kind of fall back into habits. I started my career in the wireless business. That was a business you really couldn't mess up. It was early days of wireless. It was growing at 20%. You could really make some bad decisions, and the business was going to still grow at 20%. There are precious few of those today.
Sure.
And so you've got to be a lot more thoughtful and smart about your strategy. So that's really what I'm trying to do. Just stay connected, listen a lot. I've got a great board of directors that we've tried to be really thoughtful about putting together a board that can be really helpful. And they help me stay connected. There are 7 or 8 of them that all have their personal networks. And I use them a lot. I talk to almost all my directors every week, believe it or not, just to help. I have a lady who's the CFO of Medallia, a big software company, who, when I want to learn about software as a service, I call her and say, how are you guys paying people? We're trying to get a commission plan here that's going to really drive the kind of growth that we want. What insights do you have from what you're doing at Medallia? And another gentleman that's a technology CEO that is really mentoring a couple of my new executives here. So, I mean, just taking advantage of all these opportunities, listening to people, learning from others' experience, and reading a lot, I think is really important, because things are changing very fast.
Thank you. Well, great insights there. I mean, I'm curious your thought. I mean, you talk about your board. Do you see a major shift happening in the boardrooms across companies that either are, innovating or need to kind of reinvent, that they need to have a different makeup in their board who are maybe more comfortable with that pace of change?
I've seen an amazing change in boards. I mean, I've been a CEO or CFO for well over 20 years, and the change, the level of engagement from 20 years ago, I think a lot of boards were came to a meeting every 3 months, listened to a CFO give a financial report, had a dinner,
salute and go on their way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Today, I mean, I can't tell you how we've got a meeting tomorrow, and they're very engaged. Like, I've got to be buttoned up for these meetings, and it's challenging to have a group of people that involved, but that's what is necessary in today's environment. I think here at CalAmp, in terms of board diversity, and we've really moved to refresh our board and bring in new talent. So I feel like that's been incredibly valuable to me in running the company, and I see a massive change. not just at CalAmp, but other boards that I'm on, where the level of engagement is, double or triple what it was maybe 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's great to hear. I think, especially somebody who is making public company investments, I think that's sort of the expectation that we should probably have if there is that level of involvement and engagement. So that's very encouraging. So Jeff, we're coming up against time here. Final lap on the show, and one of the things I always ask my guests, you've shared a tremendous amount of wisdom and insight, but I always ask my guests to sort of share a key piece of advice or a lesson or something they've learned along the way. So I have a lot of business executives, whether they're startup founder CEOs or others that are executives in companies that are in the audience. Given all the change that we're in the middle of right now, what's the biggest piece of advice you would have for them right now?
Well, I think for me, a big factor in my career has been I had a couple of really early mentors who really emphasized the importance of building relationships with people at all levels in the organization and having a level of engagement that's unique. So I think it's especially important in these times. With all the innovation and disruption going on, it's easy for a CEO to become consumed with board level matters and just spend most of their time with their executive leadership team. But what I find is really important, and I've tried to do this through COVID here, every 2 weeks I'm doing an all hands meeting, just stay really engaged. I like to call, a frontline salesperson or a frontline expediter who's kind of working directly with our customers, customer service rep. Or last week, every week I'm doing something where I have a couple of these visits with people in the organization, deep in the organization, to get insights and to listen to them. They have a lot of great ideas. So I think especially in these difficult times, Carrie, it's so important to stay connected with the team, to build a winning culture. To me, that's what I really want to do at CalAmp, to really convince the team here that we can win if we work together. And to do that, I think I've got to be involved, not just me, it's all of my executive leadership team. Be involved at deep in the organization, and just don't assume that everybody gets it. Just sometimes you repeat like the strategy. You were talking about that earlier. It's very, very important. Thursday this week, I'll have probably my 10th all-employee meeting, and we open it up on Zoom to questions and about strategy or anything for the whole executive team, and that's been wonderful. So to me, that level of engagement is probably my biggest learning that I've had in my career. That's what really can make an organization effective and increase the cadence.
That's such good advice. It's such good advice. As I was mentioning, growing up in a family business, I saw it firsthand from my father and my grandfather that, going out into the yard and having a conversation with those folks, everybody matters. And I think, leading by example, like I'm sure you do, is so powerful. And particularly at a time when you're trying to drive a strategic change, you need to get buy-in from everyone. So great advice. Jeff, thank you so much. I mean, you've got a board meeting or a shareholder meeting tomorrow. You've got so much going on. I so appreciate you taking the time to join me on the show, for sharing your perspective, your wisdom. Super excited to have you here in Orange County as well. And wish you all the best with all the great innovation and technology investment ahead at CalAmp. Best of luck in this new role, and I look forward to tracking your progress, and definitely hope we can stay in touch.
Yeah, I definitely love to stay in touch, and I appreciate everything you're doing for Orange County and for your interest in our company.
Appreciate it. Well, we'll talk soon.
Cheers.
You've just listened to Accelerate OC. Join our live recordings every Tuesday morning at accelerateoc.com, or listen, like, and share anytime from your favorite podcast spot. Let's accelerate OC together.